Hey there, it's Mel,
Hi, it's Jess.
and welcome to another week. Another week? Yes, another
Yeah,
week with Witch Weekly.
we
That
did it.
works.
Proud of you.
Mel's not braining very well tonight,
That's okay, we'll cut her some slack.
but tonight we are talking about magical portraits.
Oh, yes.
No Fantastic Beast news to share. I've been keeping a close eye on that, so I think we
Well,
should
they
dive
did.
in.
No, 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 wait,
Oh,
wait. They
oh,
did release the picture of Jude Law as Albus Dumbledore.
did they? I've missed this.
Oh my
I
god,
have
yes.
missed this. I have just been so out of it and I have missed this.
Yeah. Even my small doubting heart was a bit like, all right, proceed.
I'm looking it up right now because I have missed this. It's been a killer week at work and yeah. But I thought I was on top of this. When did this come out?
I've seen it like 3 times today, and each time I'm like, oh, nice.
Oh,
Not bad.
well, I haven't actually been on the Book of Faces. Is it like the one with the weird thing going on his forehead?
No? What?
There's like a weird chunk of hair and some widow's peaks.
I don't know. I didn't look that closely.
Well, look it up now so I can see to make sure I've got the right picture.
You probably have.
He's got like a really far back receding hairline, but some coming out in the middle.
Probably. I'm
Probably.
no I'm no authority, guys. I'm no authority.
Are we sure these aren't just pictures? Because I've also found one of him as Watson from when he did Sherlock Holmes, with him next to Michael Gambon, like a picture of Michael Gambon's Dumbledore.
No, I have no idea.
So are you sure it's an official release and not some fan art?
Who cares?
Because
Is the better question.
I'm finding loads of pictures of him like in different characters put next to Michael Gambon's Dumbledore.
For some reason, Gambot doesn't sound right. I know it is, but it doesn't.
Gambondor.
Oh, stop.
Okay, I'll stop.
Although he's got a portrait.
He does have a portrait. Hey Jess,
Okay, yeah.
if someone painted a magical portrait of you, what aspect or aspects would you most like them to capture?
My sarcasm, my wit, how deviously hilarious I am, but subtle. Like, subtle, underhanded evil. Definitely. And you know what? I'd also like them to capture how nice my eyes are.
Good point, good point. You have very nice eyes.
Thank you.
I think if I painted a portrait of you, you'd be wearing baby blue with like a fur collar because you're
Really?
just so pale and blonde and it looks perfect.
I was thinking of me in all black, holding like a red apple with a crow on my shoulder, but that, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
To each their
sorry,
own.
you're not as evil as you think you are. You're like a little wannabe Voldemort.
Ex excuse you. First off, I would wear shoes and get manicures all the time. Second, I don't see a portrait of Voldemort anywhere. Do you?
I don't see a portrait of you either.
Actually,
Oh yeah, I went there.
Rhonda, where are you?
I went there.
Rhonda's got my back. Although that brings up something, but we'll move on to that. Well, if someone's painting a magical portrait of you, what do you want it to be like? Come on,
I
paint
wanted
me a picture with your words.
it would be me mountain bike riding across beautiful mountains
And then
and
you'd be cycling forever.
good. I could live with that. I would never get tired. It won't be
Oh,
like real life where I get like floored by it.
no, but you might.
No. And then at the bottom, like at the front of the portrait, is my picnic basket full of beer and wine and whatever else I want to drink, and lots of cheese and burgers. And I just like go and chill down there when I'm tired of riding and talk to people. And they would capture my awesome trivial facts. I'll just like burst out like nonsensical things that nobody was talking about, and I'll do it really eagerly and like try to link it to the conversation at hand.
You would.
That
You'd be the
that's me.
portrait that shouts at people.
Oh, I've got the funniest story to tell you about going mountain bike riding. I'll tell you after the show though.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think my portrait sounds amazing. and Hogwarts accurate, and yours sounds confusing and full of cardio. So I don't know about that.
It's endless cardio followed by endless beer. I'm not seeing the problem.
Uh, well, if it's endless cardio, there is no time to get to the endless beer. So there's your first problem. Second problem, there's cardio. Third problem, it's beer and not cruises.
You're
So
such a teeny pop. Anyway, moving on from our drinking habits, we need to talk about these magical portraits we come across in Harry Potter. So, I'm going to be honest, I knew about this. Obviously, we've talked about this subject for weeks, and I knew there was a Pottermore article on it. I read that Pottermore article about 2 hours ago as like an
okay,
afterthought, as, oh, I should really read that.
yeah, absolutely.
So, it explains that, stop spamming me, Spreaker. We're going to talk about Spreaker later. They're a podcasting thing, and I've got a
Mm-hmm.
bone to pick.
But
Anyway,
anyways.
portraits. Sorry, guys, I'm really out of it tonight. But portraits. So with magical portraits, they're different from magical photos. Rowling explains that they are painted and infused with magic, and while they are painted, the artist teaches them about their subject. So they're two-dimensional in many ways. They only know what they're told. So the fat lady, for example, indulges in her love for good food and drink and tip-top security. And Sir I just love that line, tip-top security. And Sir Cadogan's portrait is forever challenging people to a fight and falling off his horse and behaving in a fairly unbalanced way, which is
Just like
how
me.
which is how he appeared to the poor wizard who painted him. And I'm getting echo.
Oh, better.
That's better, I think. Yep, no echo. Sorry, guys. Anyway, so they're quite two-dimensional. You couldn't actually have a deep, in-depth conversation with them. Hence why I am capitalizing on that with my portrait. I would just be incapable of deep, meaningful conversation.
Isn't that typical now? Oh,
Yeah, that burn wasn't as
oh.
good as mine.
No, Ravenclaw gets points. 10 points to me.
But the portraits of the headmasters and headmistresses are slightly different because they're painted while the subject is alive and given to the headmaster or headmistress. And they take that portrait and spend as much or as little time as they want with it, teaching it what it needs to know, which is why, in my opinion, Dumbledore's portrait is so there. Like, he's able to direct Snape and everything. This portrait knew all of Dumbledore's plans.
Yeah, all those goals. Okay then.
Yeah, that's how it works. So, and they also like take in knowledge as well. They continue to take in knowledge after the subject dies, and that's why the all the headmasters and headmistresses who line the wall of Dumbledore's office know so much because they're not actually sleeping; they're just eavesdropping.
Okay, that brings up some really interesting questions as well, doesn't it? Once you think about it, this could bring up a whole world of possibilities.
Oh dear, what are you thinking?
Okay, well, if all these portraits are there and they're all taking everything in, and if someone who didn't know better maybe did something a little questionable in the headmaster's office, what's that like? How's that going to end? Are the portraits going to talk? Do they gossip to each other? Do they also move around frames? Like, I just feel like there's potential for it to go really wrong really quickly if you don't know what's going on.
So the I want to know what questionable things actually. Let's start with the real questions here. What are
Nah,
these
nah, nah,
questionable
nah, nah,
things?
nah. I'm
What
gonna let
has
your
who is
imagination.
doing it in Dumbledore's office?
Um, I'm gonna say it was a drunken Christmas party shenanigan between Flitwick and Trelawney, and they ended up in Dumbledore's office. And I don't really want to talk about the rest of it, but like, do you
Okay.
think do you think Dumbledore gets the lowdown the next day?
Oh, the portraits would definitely tell Dumbledore. Now the headmaster's portraits, I I don't think they can go just from frame to frame like others can. I think they can only go between their own portraits. So that's like Phineas Nigellus
Hmm.
can go from his portrait in Dumbledore's office to the one in Grimmauld Place.
Yeah, so they can kind of move frames, which is cool,
Yeah, but I don't think they can move. You know how the other
into each
portraits we
other's frames.
see who just like walk along the walls pretty much from frame to frame. I don't think
Yeah.
they can do that. But it's not
Well,
actually explicitly said.
that'd be an interesting thing to examine. All right. So it's infused with magic. Is the paint magic? Is the canvas magic? What's
Um,
is it a spell?
when a magical portrait is taken, the witch or wizard artist will naturally use enchantments to ensure that the painting will be able to move in the usual way. The portrait will be able to use some of the subject's favourite phrases and imitate their general demeanour. So I'd say it's a spell
Okay.
on the picture as a whole. So as they're painting, they are casting spells. It is a process. It's not just like whip out your paints and go for it.
All right. So there you are. You're going to do a magical portrait for someone, right? And you've left out your canvas and your paintbrushes and you've already done a few enchantments and you've gone away to get a snack. You come back and your 5-year-old's painted a stick figure on it. And the stick figure is like the perfect representation of your 5-year-old. Do you trash the portrait or do you keep it forever?
I'm keeping it forever, but I'm not telling the person who I was meant to be painting. I'll just start again.
You would just start again?
Yeah, have to.
Like, because when I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, before I knew how it all worked, I was like, all right, so does this mean that little wizard kids are there drawing monster portraits and weird portraits of their family, like horribly disfigured stick figures that like scream in pain for all eternity? That would be a picture I'd never take off the fridge. Like, never.
Well, the thing is, so they also have, of course, photos, which I don't really get photos, and I haven't seen them explained properly because they're not as alive as a portrait. They don't talk, but they definitely react. So, like,
They're a frozen moment in time.
well, no, they're not because
Well, not like frozen,
Percy.
frozen, but
No, no,
they're like,
no. Percy has a photo of Penelope Clearwater. I think it's in the third book, and somebody spills coffee on it, and she runs and hides out of the frame, so ashamed by her blotched face. So they're aware of something, like they're able to react and be aware.
mm-hmm.
Well,
Hmm.
and you have other ones like Harry took a photo with Gilderoy Lockhart, and while he was took the photo, he didn't want to be there. So when the photo's printed, it shows him trying to run out of the frame.
Yeah, I know.
He like keeps running out of the frame, getting dragged back.
No, I know that the photos can move and they are acting on whatever emotion was taking at the time of the photo. But what I mean is the photo of the Order of Phoenix, right? Everyone's happy in that photo.
Yeah, because
They
then
they're not
they're not
they're
aware of current affairs.
no, exactly. So
Yeah,
it's frozen in that moment of time, in how they were feeling in that moment.
unless you spill coffee on him. I'm sure she was happy before the coffee was spilt on her.
Yeah. Although what would happen then if you cut up the photo?
That would be like cruel.
That would
Well,
be
actually,
hilarious.
Snape tore up a photo. He tore the photo of Lily, James, and Harry, so it only had Lily in it.
Gosh.
Because he found the letter and photo in Sirius's bedroom when he went back to Grimmauld Place. So he stole the bottom of the letter and tore the photo, so he had the part Lily was in.
Like I get it, but at the same time that is a bit
Oh, that was like so creepy. I was just there going, I get it, you like love her, but tearing that photo like that and just leaving like Harry on his little toy broomstick going in and out of the frame with James's legs chasing him. But would that mean that Lily is now just stuck in that torn off piece?
yes.
Poor Lily.
Oh, maybe not. Who knows?
Like, yeah, that's the thing. Like, can they leave the picture? We know
I
they
don't
can.
I don't think they can leave the picture.
No, I don't think they can.
I
Oh, they
think they
can.
can
I think
hide.
they can go in the margin of it,
Yeah, I think they can hide out of the frame, but they can't.
go somewhere else.
Yeah, they couldn't actually go to another photo.
Now, back when we did our first episode, you told me about a portrait you really liked.
Elizabeth Burke.
Yes. Tell us about Elizabeth Burke.
Okay, so Elizabeth Burke was a headmaster of Hogwarts. She was a pureblood. She was a Slytherin. She's the portrait that looks like Queen Elizabeth with a pointy hat. And I love that portrait because number one, it looks like Queen Elizabeth with a pointy hat. And I love Queen Elizabeth and I love pointy hats. Number two, when I actually dug down and found out about her, I was really disturbed by her because she's a really nasty portrait. She's not a nice lady. She shares a lot of the anti-Muggleborn and anti-Muggle sentiments that Salazar Slytherin held dear. And she, as a portrait, would actually encourage the Slytherins to be quite nasty to all Muggleborns. And you get an idea through that where these Muggle sentiments come from, maybe, for some of the students. Because that's one portrait we know about that is very, very nasty. You have to imagine there are more, and that brings up the question, why do they allow portraits like that in such a modern day in the castle? History, yes. She is a source of knowledge, no one can deny that.
We really
But
need to start the Hogwarts PTA.
we really do. But so you've got these portraits. You have to wonder how many of those portraits were actually really inappropriate for Hogwarts.
Like, it's something that could be really amusing, like Sir Cadogan. He's kind of funny, but at the same time, he's like yelling at students and like, fight me. Actually, he's like you.
Thank you.
We can't have a portrait of you.
Yes, you can.
You and Sir Cadogan, or Cadogan, I think it's Cadogan. You and Sir Cadogan would have like fights.
No way, I'd be hanging out with the Anne Boleyn portrait. Also, oh my gosh, the Anne Boleyn portrait, I'm just saying. Theory confirmed.
Oh yeah. Well, wasn't your theory based on the fact she had a portrait in
Yeah. So
Hogwarts?
in the movies, there's a portrait of Anne Boleyn in Hogwarts. For those of you who don't know, Anne Boleyn was an English woman in the Tudor times. She was the second wife of Henry VIII, and she was quite unfairly beheaded. And one of the reasons she was beheaded is because they believed she was guilty of adultery and of witchcraft. And so it's like my personal little canon is that Anne Boleyn would have definitely been a kick-ass witch. Oh my gosh. Makes me happy. Makes me so happy.
Is there you are, as always, so much more prepared for this than I am. Do you know if there's one of Merlin? I'd like to think there's a portrait of Merlin somewhere in the Hogwarts castle.
I imagine there would be a portrait of Merlin
Because
in
he was like the most
castle.
famous wizard.
Look, I imagine there would be, but I don't think he'd be anywhere easily accessible.
You think he's hiding out somewhere?
Well, I don't know if he's hiding out somewhere so much, or if somebody has actually taken the portrait and hidden it. Because Merlin, while he was a fantastic wizard, as a portrait, especially if he spent time with that portrait, or depending on how he was depicted, that could be a really, like, scary portrait.
Or
Or,
really
or a
cool.
really, yeah. Or he knows too much. You never know. I'm
Yeah.
just saying. I'm
Oh,
just
you're
saying.
you're you're breaking up.
Oh, any better?
Now you sound far away.
I'm not far away.
Okay, it'll be fine. You're loud enough to hear. So I'm looking up Elizabeth Burke because I've finally gotten around to this. So apparently she has several portraits in Hogwarts Castle. So she's moving around to cause havoc.
Yeah,
So
she
that
is.
means headmasters can move from portrait to portrait, or that there's just loads of them for her to move around to.
I think, well, they can move to spare frames as well. And it would make sense to me that they occasionally have spare frames all around the castle. But yeah, I know that she was actually moved at one point to be closer to the Slytherin dorms so that she could spread her evil gospel.
Yeah, and she no longer hid secret passages after 1996.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, and she wasn't even on the same wall as secret passages. And she has a portrait in Malfoy Manor, so she's probably related to the Malfoys. Or they just idolize her.
Oh, I think if they have a portrait of her, she's probably a relation of some kind. Probably. Or it's a historical piece of art, you know. But, it is funny. It is funny. Though the portraits would be an amazing experience, I think. And they could help you study. It's like you have to write an essay on someone. I'm going to go find their portrait. BRB, grabbing my quill, grabbing my parchment, off I go on a hunt
But
to find.
you got how much are they aware of their own history? Because
Oh,
that
I think a
depends on how
fair
much the
bit.
artist told them. Some of them might be like totally ignorant. They're just like, I am King Arthur. So, tell me about your life.
I have a cool
I
sword and it goes zwing, zwing.
No, I'm thinking more like I am Groot. I am King Arthur. We are King Arthur.
Oh, maybe. Actually, yeah, potentially. Who knows?
I just love that image now. I'm gonna get like a little something. I need to like make a gif of that.
Interesting fact, actually, while we're here on Hogwarts portraits, Helena Ravenclaw's portrait was non-speaking.
She's just too wise and too full of knowledge. She just
Or
couldn't.
guilty, maybe. Maybe the artist didn't want her to talk. What if the artist doesn't want them to talk?
Well,
There'd
obviously, the
probably
artist
be
doesn't want
something.
them to talk. They probably can't.
Ooh. Yeah, there you go. That brings up another thing. Can you only do whatever you're directed to do? Yeah, probably.
I'd say there's very little free will, like in the portrait. Really, they've got their parameters to live in. That
Yeah.
is a cruel existence. But then again, is it cruel if they don't know any better?
No, I guess not.
Are they really alive?
No, well, in what way?
This
What makes
this
them
this is
die?
like a moral question.
Do you stab? If you stab the canvas, what happens? When you burn
They
it, it just ceases to exist, I guess.
Well, stabbing it, we know that they can run away because that's what happened between.
What if you stab it, like, through the character, though? Through the person? Like, if you get the fat lady right in the heart, is she stuck? Does she drop dead? Or is she permanently broken? Is
I
she unable to move? Because think about it, that disrupts the paint
well,
in her.
I think she can't bleed. She don't have blood.
No,
So
but she might be pinned or ripped.
I think she would need to be restored. So she could get away. It wouldn't kill her, but somebody would need to come with a paintbrush and restore her like they did her portrait. Because that's what happened after she was stabbed by Sirius. Her portrait had to be restored. And we don't know, maybe Sirius did get her because Peeves said she's a terrible mess.
No, she was. I think that's just an emotional thing. But what I mean is, if you destroy part of a portrait, if you slash it down the middle, not necessarily the whole way, but like 5 inches,
Mm.
can someone in the portrait still like walk through that if it was not disturbed, or do they have to duck? Do they have to go over the slash? Like, do they have to avoid that slash? And if they
Well,
are there and they get slashed in like the leg, does that trap them or pin them to that spot? Because that would tear open a hole in them. Or does it not?
okay, so the slash in the background, I think that would be the same as moving from frame to frame. They just vanish for a moment and appear on the other side. Because, when they leave from frame to frame, they're going through blank space and reappearing somewhere else. Yeah?
I don't think that they just vanish from the whole portrait and then reappear an inch or two to the side.
I don't mean I mean as in you just can't see that bit. It's like passing behind a small tree.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Like you just
Um,
can't see whatever part's passing through at that moment when it's the background.
I don't know. I feel like that would just be. I would believe that they'd have to duck under the slash, or like
So you think the slash would become an actual physical obstacle to them?
yes. And I think like for example, if you
But
have
in that case, if somebody poked their finger at a portrait, the finger is a physical because it's pushing in.
no, but if it breaks through, I mean. I'm only talking about if it breaks through. People touch portraits all the time. That's not going to do anything. This is a rip in the actual portrait, like a
Yeah,
full
yeah,
rip.
I get what you're saying. It's a rip, but then we also have to. They can move from portrait to portrait, which is blank space. A rip is blank space.
I just feel like, and I'm questioning more if it's on the character. Character, yeah,
Okay,
you know what I mean.
if it's on the character, I
The
don't.
subject matter.
The subject, I don't know because you can't. I don't think ripping them will kill them.
No, it's not about killing them though. It's just about trapping
I don't
them
know.
there.
I don't think. I don't think you can actually hurt them, though, is what I'm saying. Meaning, if you stab them in the leg, they could rip the leg through, and they would just then need to be restored because
Yeah,
there's a
no,
rip wherever they
no,
walk.
I don't believe it would hurt them so much as I wonder if they would be able to move in the same way. So
Yeah,
for it,
I don't think you can, because they're not a physical being. You know what I'm saying? They don't have muscle and everything, so it would merely mean if you stab them in the thigh, there would be a rip in their pants. Like there would be that blank space. But then would it affect them moving from portrait to portrait because now they're torn? So does their tear move with them into the next portrait?
so I believe that if you took a knife and you went up to the fat lady and you got her in the thigh, right?
Mm.
And you drag it down by 5 inches.
What's this in the 5 inches?
I'm just because I don't want people to overestimate how big the rib is. I don't want them to overestimate. Guys, calm down. I'm not going full psycho. So you do
She
five
is a
inches.
psycho.
Rude. You do 5 inches, and then what I assume would happen, if like that happened to me, is that because the paint of me was distorted, I would be trapped there until someone came and mended me. So I wouldn't be able to move around in my own frame as freely as I previously had. But I totally get what you're saying.
Are we leaving the knife in there?
No.
No, okay.
I've got things to do with that knife. Why would I leave my knife in the portrait? They
I
could take
don't know.
fingerprints and identify me. No way. If I'm trying to frame a Hufflepuff for this, I have got to be getting somebody else's fingerprints onto the knife.
Okay, no, I don't think it would trap them though.
I mean,
I
it's just an interesting thought, isn't it?
yeah, because it.
What happens if we are malicious towards the portraits?
You're such a psychopath. Making me, the Gryffindor who would never harm a portrait, think about these things.
She wants to be a textbook Gryffindor, guys, but it's a lie.
I am a textbook
No,
Gryffindor.
you're not. You're awful.
I'm lovely.
I would probably do all kinds of horrible things to portraits. I would taunt them.
You're a full-blown psychopath, Jess.
No, I'm not. I'm just, I'm fun loving and I'm really.
Oh yes, let's torment the portraits because they can't feel it.
No, I hope they can. It's more, let's torment them because they can't get me.
I'm sure they could talk to like Peeves and convince him to do something.
I would find the Salazar Slytherin portrait and I would poke fun at it all the time.
That would
And I
just
would
be a
tell him
hobby.
I would tell him about the Chamber of Secrets. I'd be like, I know about your chamber and about your big snake, and it looks great as my new handbag. Disclaimer, I don't believe in slaughtering snakes for handbags. But, like, that is the sort of stuff I would do.
Mel, where's Jess today? She decided to skip class and torment the portrait of Salazar Slytherin again.
Not again.
We would get no. I don't know how the kids get schoolwork done at that place.
With all those portraits. I don't know
All
either.
those portraits, all those spells, all those places to explore, things to do, magic to see. How do they get anything done?
Well, they're all great at cardio.
Oh, the stairs. That
There are lots of portraits by the stairs. How would that work out? Do you think the portraits could, like, tell the building to do stuff? It's like they're so sick of some first year talking to them, so they're like, stairs, move now.
like they're integrated into Hogwarts itself, the magic of Hogwarts. I think they are.
I think it's possible.
Like they're just part of the magic.
Yeah. Quite potentially. I wonder how. Well, you've just made me think. Actually, just about moving portraits moving. If a portrait can travel from Hogwarts to Grimmauld Place, I guess that means Elizabeth Burke could travel from Hogwarts to the Malfoy Manor.
Yeah,
So,
that's the other thing. So there's multiple portraits. Sorry, there's multiple frames, but only one subject. Because Phineas Nigellus is not both in Dumbledore's office and at Grimmauld Place. He is at one or the other.
yes.
That's pretty cool.
I suppose that would be a process too. You just have like 6 frames and you paint them all and you get if you paint the subject matter first, the person, then you get them to walk into the other frames and
Yeah, probably something like that, and then paint their background. But in the case of Phineas Nigellus, the background of his portrait at Grimmauld Place, we know is just a... No, sorry. the portrait in the Prime Minister's office. When the subject's not there, it's just a murky brown background. So there you go. So it could be like really disinteresting things like walk into this frame. Blah. I paint this frame white.
Okay, I would
This
never do that.
canvas white.
Yeah.
Sucks to be you. You can stand in this whiteness.
And I mean, I guess if you painted the environment as a extension of the original environment, I mean that would make sense.
How much does the environment interact with the subject? Or how much does the subject interact with the environment, I should say?
Yeah.
Or how is it just a background to them too? Like in the movie, we see the fat lady singing and she uses the wall to smash her wine glass when she can't get her voice to shatter it.
Huh. Hmm.
Speaking of cardio, I wonder how affected portraits are because we know Sir Cadogan, he runs around because he's not allowed to ride his horse. His horse won't let him ride it, which is hilarious. That poor pony. Do you know this? Actually, just quickly, do you know the story of Sir Cadogan?
Yeah, vaguely. I haven't read it recently, but
Yeah,
I'm
so
I'm
for
aware.
those who don't know, he was one of the Knights of the Round Table and he was written out of the Muggle histories. But he was a Gryffindor and he was ridiculously brave. He just didn't know fear. So he decided to fight a dragon. And the first time he charged the dragon, it snapped his wand and melted his sword. But Sir Cadogan was not to be defeated. Oh, it killed his horse as well. So he ran into a field and jumped on a pony and charged one more time and died.
Smooth.
And so the portrait of him has him and the pony, and the pony's just not happy. So he is made to walk most of the time. He cannot get on this pony. So in the third book, he runs along the portrait, leading Harry, Ron, and Hermione up to divinations, and he gets out of breath because he's wearing plate. That is heavy, man.
That is heavy. All
So
right.
and he gets out of breath.
Suppose they do then.
So
Suppose they do then.
are all portraits affected by cardio, or is it just Sir Cadogan? Was that part of his painting that he's bad at cardio?
I guess it really depends on what you tell the portrait. They must vary greatly. I suppose if you know someone, for example, for complaining about their hip or back pain, their portrait would probably do the same if you told them that.
Yeah.
But then what if you lied to them? What if you said to the Dumbledore portrait, hey, you can do super kick-ass backflips. Just gird your loins and go.
Backflipping Dumbledore.
Hmm.
But then, is it truly a portrait of them if it does not behave as them? Or is it just an image, their likeness?
Well, it's a moving image and likeness that can do super cool backflips, so...
In robes. Oh. Would that mean that the artist would also then have to paint his underwear so we know what his underwear looks like when he does these super cool backflips?
Maybe. Yeah, can you see it right now? The artist is just like, okay, Dumbledore, hold up your robes. I'm gonna paint some sick undies on you.
Can't flash the kitties. Now I'm just thinking of that picture you found of Bellatrix and Dumbledore.
No, please stop. Oh, no. Between you and Rhonda, I'll never forget.
No, but seriously, I'm just thinking, like, these things that need to be considered. Like, I don't know, what if the fat lady got really drunk one day and, like, the strap of her dress, we don't even know I think her dress is described as pink. But let's say it's got a strap, and the strap of the dress falls and shows a bit of bosom. Is there bosom to show, or...?
Yes, I would say so. Maybe you have to paint them naked and then paint the clothes onto them. Or you paint the form of them. It's complicated.
Like,
wow, there's a lot to consider.
I am worried about some devious artist painting a portrait that will flash people and this thing gets into Hogwarts. Like, my child could be exposed to that. My little
This is
Susie.
hilarious. That's it. Patricia, Mummy's coming to school. I've got to interview the portraits. Speaking of portraits, let's talk about another one. Wahlberger Black's portrait.
Oh, she's horrid.
So she's at Grimmauld Place, chillin', noticeably she's covered up when we come into contact with her.
I'd say Sirius did that when he moved back in.
Yeah, I assume so. I thought it was. I assumed it was, anyways. And
Yeah.
it's just spewing vile, putrid hatred, which makes me think, what was she like when Wahlberger herself was actually around? Was she more cheerful? Like, probably very poised and quiet, but
The portrait or Wahlberger?
the portrait,
Yeah, it was just
more
listening,
like, more
observing.
like, more like
Or
portrait.
I was about to say, yeah, no, not laughing. I was about to say, like, the portrait had to have been there when Wahlberger was alive, because Wahlberger was the last one in the house. I believe. I believe the Orion, Sirius's father, died first. So she was the last one left in that house, and, Bellatrix was imprisoned, Narcissa wasn't coming to visit because they're, like, upstanding or something. Well, we know that the Malfoys can't get in when Sirius comes back at the very least, because surely they'd be aware of Grimmauld Place, but they've got secret keepers and everything at that point. So that's the question: was the portrait there when Wahlberger was alive, or did someone put it there
Yeah, true. Oh no, I think she would have put her own portrait in there.
to watch over the house?
Just because she was Wahlberger, I think she would be like, yeah, I'm the best. Paint this portrait, mate. Frankly, if I had a wizard house, I'd have a portrait of me in
Yeah,
it.
but I don't think she was like super happy in her last days. Sirius was in prison. She never liked Sirius, so who cares? And Regulus had gone missing.
Although, if Sirius was imprisoned for the murder of Muggles, and she was in Voldemort's personal circle, how is she to know that he didn't do it?
Good
So
point.
maybe she was like not necessarily happy with him and the choices he made in his youth, but maybe she was like, okay, I can deal with that. At least he's serving time with his beloved cousin Bellatrix. Little did she know that she was wrong.
Could be, yeah.
Now, do you know what I just remembered, but I got to thinking about, and I doubt it happened, but I would have been interested to see a portrait of Voldemort.
Just before we jump onto that, can we just finish off with
Yeah.
Wahlberger? Because I'm just thinking, then her whole thing is like, as we know, screaming pretty much racism, racist stuff. So when Sirius came back, would the portrait have just fired off? Because she goes like stain on my name and stuff like that about him. So, do you think the portrait just fired off upon seeing Sirius, or do you think it was cautious and assessed the situation to see if he was like loyal or not?
I believe cautious and assess the situation. However, I guess it depends on when the portrait was painted. So if the portrait was painted during the time where Sirius was being a little douchebag,
Was Sirius ever a little douchebag?
yeah,
No, he wasn't.
to his parents he was. So, I don't know whose perspective you're looking from. You're
I
you're
know.
biased. You're biased.
I'm
Anyway,
so
so
biased.
if the portrait was painted while Wahlberger perceived him as a douchebag, then obviously it's gonna change how she. It's gonna have that resonating impact. But she seems like the woman who would do it not quite in the prime of her life, but potentially when her kids were still young and she still had some sort of looks or air about her. Like that just, they don't only make portraits of themselves when they're elderly.
Yeah.
So I do believe the portrait would have been there for quite some time.
Gilderoy Lockhart's portrait.
He had like several.
Oh, he has several, like, imagine all of them. Like, they've got hair curlers and stuff, and they're preening constantly.
Yeah, true. Being douchebags. Talking smack about everything.
I've changed my portrait.
Oh no, here we go.
I want to be in a puffy shirt, reclined on a lounge.
I can picture it. I'm picturing it right now. It's beautiful, actually.
Yes, with tight-fitting pants and knee-high black leather boots.
Are you wearing the hat?
Which hat would I pick?
How come she gets to change her answers and I don't?
You can if you want, but I'm just thinking of my hat
Guys,
now.
do you hear this?
I'm just thinking of my hat. Like,
Hashtag equal rights for Jess.
I am thinking like one of those hats that like it's circular, but one of the sides is pinned up. If you get what I mean, with a big feather.
I know exactly what you mean.
They're like the Cavalier hats from the era of Charles the First and Second,
No, I know what you mean. But yeah,
or
okay.
maybe a top hat, like not a super tall top hat, like not an Abraham Lincoln one, but like a nice top hat.
See, I would have one portrait, but you would have 10.
I am the Gilderoy Lockhart here. I would have so many because I could never decide. There'd have to be a portrait of me sword fighting, a portrait of me bike riding, portrait of me reclined on the lounge in a puffy shirt.
They'd all fight each other if they were in the same frame. My portrait would be amazing. So, but,
Yeah.
but, speaking of portraits, as I was saying,
Voldemort, Voldemort, Voldemort.
what?
Whenever we talk about Voldemort, we should play that.
Oh Lord, we'd be playing it all the time. What? What would that be? That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
He would, his own portrait would hate himself because he can't do anything. He would
No,
be trying to avacadabra everybody.
I don't think that's. I don't think that's quite true. I think it would wish it could. I think it knows it can't, and I don't think it would get sooky about it because I don't think it would care that much.
It wants
No,
to
I don't even
kill
think.
everyone.
I don't even think it would feel that way, and I think it knows that it's a portrait anyways, so it's not going to be threatening to kill someone because it knows it can't. Voldemort wouldn't threaten something he couldn't realistically achieve.
I don't think he'd be threatening. He'd be trying his damnedest.
No, I
Because
don't
he
even
is
think
all
he'd
powerful
try.
and thinks that he can
No.
break through portrait.
No. That's totally not accurate. Totally not.
And then
No
it becomes
way.
a horror film when Voldemort breaks from the portrait and starts killing people in Hogwarts.
He's so sweet. But no, wouldn't that be an amazing thing?
What's he gonna do? Oh, we're just gonna stare at him pacing all day or something with a snake. What is it called? Angry scarf.
Yeah, unfriendly scarf. He's just turning around, looking at things, talking to people, hissing insults at people, encouraging Slytherins.
What would he
Not
talk
anything.
about?
What would he talk about? The pure blood agenda, blood superiority. But I imagine that
Now I've
if
got an image of him with glasses and a blackboard in his portrait. I'm broken.
I'm just picturing a murky, a murky background.
I think we've got the exact same image. But is he Snake Face or Tom Riddle?
I wish he was Tom Riddle,
But he is Snake Face.
but he's probably Snakeface at that point. I mean, I guess it would depend on how the artist drew him, and if it was post-mortem, that'd be interesting. That'd be really cool. I would definitely paint him as Tom Riddle, and I would tell him absolutely everything about him for realism's sake. I just think that would be an amazing portrait because it's not the most accurate source of history, but if one had been painted of him while he were alive and he had had the time around it, and it's a Voldemort thing to do. It is absolutely a Voldemort thing to do. Not because he's necessarily arrogant and vain, but because surely even he could have seen it as a way to achieve more things and to have a set of his own eyes. Because who's the best servant in the world? Voldemort. Who's going to help Voldemort the most?
Voldemort.
I feel like it would have worked out really well. I kind of trailed off, guys. I'm really sorry about that. I do that frequently, but wouldn't that be awesome to come across that portrait? It'd be horrifying. You'd be scared as hell. All of a sudden, this Voldemort portrait is staring you down, and the head just turns slightly, and he's like, "What are you doing, mudblood?" It's like, "Oh, I'm having issues."
I just don't know. I can't imagine
I'd throw a sheet over it.
Exactly. I can't imagine. Why would anyone want a portrait of him?
He wants a portrait of him. Think about it.
But who's going to put it up unless it's going to be up in his own, house?
Well, he has shoot.
He doesn't even have a house.
No, he doesn't now. He never did. Did he ever buy a home? Was he a homeowner? Voldergate. We must know more.
I don't think so, because he stayed in the Riddle house for a bit, but that's something. He was a squatter. He killed people and stole their houses.
Maybe he did. He could have put a portrait there. You'd never know.
I don't want a Voldemort portrait. It takes too much brain power to even think. I just don't imagine Voldemort being content as a portrait.
I don't think that Voldemort would have spoken to it in a way where he was... I don't think that the Voldemort portrait
It'll be like,
would care because the Voldemort portrait, while Voldemort's alive, would be like, that's okay, my boy's gonna go get it. But the Voldemort portrait after he died would just be.
it'll be like doing a portrait of Hitler. And I just don't know, it just doesn't compute in my head.
It depends on how you paint him. If you paint him as angry and aggravated and aggressive, then yeah,
There's
he's
a
gonna
thing.
be a
There's a
terrible
thing.
portrait.
Well, everyone's gonna paint him like that.
No, no,
'Cause
I would.
oh, you love him though.
No, 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 no. It's not
No
about
one in
loving
the
him.
Wizarding world. Okay, the Wizarding world doesn't want a portrait of Voldemort to begin with. If someone in the Wizarding world did paint a portrait of him, it's either going to be someone who loved and admired him like a Death Eater, or somebody who hated him. So we're never going to get an accurate picture of him.
That's true. We will never get an accurate picture of him unless it was painted by himself. And even then, it'll be out of it. You need someone who'd be really impartial. But here's the thing, and think about it. While he did have moments of anger and aggression, he didn't actually go off his rocker all the time. He often played it really chill.
Oh no, I know that, but I don't see. I'm sorry, I just don't see any aspect of his personality being accurately put into a portrait. And if they were able to accurately display him, this portrait would not be content with being a portrait. He wouldn't just stand around like giving lectures to people. That's not Voldemort.
I don't know, I think it is, because you have to remember as well, the portrait would be told while it's being painted, especially if it was Voldemort and he was alive, he'd be like, you're a portrait, it's your job to do X, Y, and Z. Now that could be spreading the news about how Muggleborn's the worst, hashtag they're not, or it could be about collecting information from Hogwarts. For example,
but no one's going to put his portrait up in Hogwarts.
No, but listen, think about it. In the seventh book, had he had a portrait and they had put it up, the Death Eaters who were there, like Snape and the Carrows, then it would have been his job to stalk around Hogwarts portraits and find out anything he wanted, how to get into Hogwarts, what was McGonagall doing, it's that simple.
That's presuming McGonagall would have no portraits in her office at that point. He's
yeah,
not
true,
getting
true,
in.
absolutely. I'm not saying that she would keep her portraits up for that reason.
I think it just doesn't. If he was going to put a portrait spy in Hogwarts, I don't think it would be a picture of himself because everyone would see it and be like, "Oh fuck, it's Voldemort again. Be quiet." Well, if he put something more inconspicuous, no one
like
would
Tom
notice.
Riddle.
He doesn't even like being Tom Riddle.
No, true, he doesn't. But he recognizes that it is a very good and manipulative way of getting information from young girls, for example.
But he didn't do it.
No, he didn't do it, but as a theory, that would be interesting. I think a Voldemort portrait would be really amazing. Not because I'm like, oh yay, death to the Muggleborns, but because that would be an interesting way to interact with him without interacting with him, especially if it had been a portrait that he'd been exposed to and been able to talk to and impart parts of him. And it wouldn't have been anything too personal, but it would have been things like his beliefs. It's like you've got debate club, they just bring in the Voldemort portrait, set it down, go for your life.
Kind of a bit off topic, but everyone should Google this. Somebody did up a comparison between Donald Trump and Voldemort a while ago before the election. And I don't want to get political, but I just thought it was hilarious. So it got sent to JK, and JK came back with, that's totally unfair. Voldemort was not nearly that bad.
Now, are you telling me you'd prefer a portrait of Donald Trump in Hogwarts?
That would be hilarious.
If you had to pick Trump or Voldemort, who would you pick? Like, as a portrait in Hogwarts?
Trump, because...
You are no fun.
Because he would be more amusing. Imagine the stuff that would come out of that portrait's mouth.
He'd be annoying.
You just throw a blanket over him and he falls asleep.
No, he wouldn't.
It's what happens to a burger.
He'd be like, you're paying for this blanket. No, the Voldemort portrait would be more relevant and totally better and scary, but awesome. Could you imagine that first year's being like, hey, I bet you I bet you 2 galleons that you won't go talk to the Voldemort portrait. The Voldemort portrait is sitting there. He's got a migraine because all these kids keep coming and like talking to him. He's like, "Yep, I'm Voldemort. What do you want? Oogly boogly." Like,
I can't imagine him saying oogly boogly,
also,
but it's hilarious.
I imagine Bellatrix Lestrange and Buddy Crouch Jr. would have been fine with a portrait of Voldemort. So you never know. Maybe to reward him
They're
for all his
dead.
hard work. Yeah, I know that now. But to reward him for all his hard work and being moody for a year, Voldemort had that portrait ready and waiting. He just shoved it off to Bella. He was like, fine. I see how it is. Now he's dead. Bella, just take it. I can't look at it. Boo.
Now I'm thinking about a Harry Potter musical, Quirrell and Voldemort.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that. That is like the best. It is like a same-sex relationship. I read into it. Are you staring off into the darkness of the cosmos?
I am really considering a Voldemort portrait. We need to do a Voldemort episode. Who thinks so, guys? Just let me know if
We
you think we
will
should do a
do a
Voldemort episode.
Voldemort episode.
I'm
eventually.
excited. Okay,
When you finish your biography of him.
10 years in the future. Okay, so back to portraits. And I think my theories are spot on, and I think you just don't like my theories. It's rude.
There's an amazing portrait of us now.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Yeah. In fact, we are so thankful, Rhonda, you're our fan topic. Because I've seen her work, and I'm going to go and dig it all up, the stuff I've seen already. She's done, like, I'm pretty sure she did a picture with the giant squid in it.
I've got to draw my picture for her. I've kind of got
she was
started.
the only person who commented. So, she's the only person who gets a picture.
Are you kidding? Are you kidding?
Pick up your game, people.
Are you kidding? Lucky me. I don't want to have to draw 50 pictures. Rhonda, I'm going to come up straight with you right here. I'm not an artist. I'm not very good at art, but I'm going to do my best for you, boo. You know, I was thinking about it earlier, though. I was like, that was such a cool picture. I wonder if we could get her to do another one. And I've had this idea of how we would pose stuck in my head all day, so we're going to have to be super nice to Rhonda and see if we can...
Get her to do
See if
another
we
photo
can-
manipulation for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that was pretty cool. I liked it. And she put... Did you notice? I actually didn't say anything to you about this, just so I could get it on the record before you could get on top of it. She said, look at you both. I've given you... saying along the lines, I've given you witches' hats, and I can just imagine you chilling out in the Gryffindor common room.
No.
Yeah, Gryffindor wins.
No, it's just easy to get in. We couldn't take you to Ravenclaw. You'd never get in.
No, it's just because Gryffindor's better.
No, it's
Face
certainly
the
not.
facts.
It's just easier to get in.
Speaking actually with
Gryffindor Tower is like the Hogwarts bicycle. Everybody's been there.
that is horrible. Take that back.
10 points to Ravenclaw. Oh, karma. I dropped something on my laptop.
Yes, see? You're so mean, and that is just bullying. Look what I have to put up with. I get picked on.
Team Jess.
Actually, I'm doing, as you know, the reread of Harry Potter at the moment. I'm doing several. I'm following like every reread podcast, but just did the third task in the fourth book, and there's a riddle in it from a sphinx. And now I have read that so many times. You know, been going through and reading the book. I'm failing at words. Anyway, reading the book, and every time I forget the riddle.
Every time.
Every time I forget the answer to the riddle, and I try to work it out with Harry. Like I sit there and I'm like, right, these are the clues. What does? I never figure it out.
Oh, I'm so the same.
As I said, you're never getting into the Ravenclaw common room either.
Excuse me.
You're as bad at riddles as I am.
I'm still amazing, and I could reason a really good way around it and get into the common room. You're just upset because I could.
No, you can't.
Don't be so sad. Don't be so sad. Don't be angry just because I'm amazing. I'm amazing. Team Jess. 50 points to me.
So,
Anyways.
the point is, we got so distracted. Rhonda, you are amazing, and I love your work, and I'm going to find more of it and spread it all over our pages.
I need to get some gel pens because I want gel pens to make my art for you.
We'll get just gel pens, and you'll get your picture shortly.
I'm excited. Bum, bum, bum. And I just can't hide it. Bum, bum, bum.
Random ships, Jess.
All right, I've
So,
got it.
this is the segment where we build a boat, set it to sail on the Black Lake to see if it sinks or sails.
Okay.
So, what do you think we should just stick to people we know or suspect would have portraits?
Yes.
Okay, because you are so on top of this, and oh god, I'm worried.
Let's count.
Okay, three,
3, 2,
two,
1.
one. Sir
Elizabeth
Cadigan.
Burke! It would never happen.
No, she could not tolerate
He'd try to like
this
ride in
Gryffindor
on his pony, and she'd be like,
and
"I
be all
hate you so
chivalrous.
much."
Well, they're probably from around the same time period, and because he wears plate armor. Anyway, he would be
Potentially.
so chivalrous to her and be like, "Can portraits have sex?"
Oh Lord. Okay, that's a can of worms we are not opening. But if you want to find out, let us know, and we'll have that conversation over Discord or something.
That's
Seriously
a
though,
good
we're
idea.
not saying that on podcast.
I could put an explicit rating on. Anyways, so he would come and he would serenade and try to like win her with his chivalry on the pony, and she would just have none of it. But then the fat lady gives them alcohol, and magic happens. One night of magic somewhere in the Hogwarts castle.
Ooh. Ooh. Well, imagine like a third year walking past and witnessing that. Everyone's traumatized then.
Yeah, let's.
I could
I
see
like
her
your idea.
going
Let's
to
save this conversation for another time.
I can see her going to Malfoy Manor to escape Cadogan. Plotting with Draco. She's like, "Child, I'll give you every password for every passageway I know of if you burn down the portrait." Draco's like, "Done. Done."
Moving. Actually, do we sink or sail it?
Sink.
Fire the cannon. I just love saying that. I love my puns.
Oh Lord. Oh Lordy Lord. But yeah,
So,
no, that's never gonna work.
so
Although you've brought
Jess.
up another interesting question. Yes.
No, I want to hear your question.
No, just what we were talking about before.
Of
Well, literally just what we were saying. Can portraits have sex? That was an interesting question.
I just wanted to make you say it again. No subtlety here.
Gryffindors are the worst.
Anyways, Jess.
What?
So somebody has painted a magical portrait of you. It's
Yes.
you win. You get to be in your black dress with your apple and your crow and red lipstick and whatever
Oh,
else you
no,
want.
we don't need lipstick, please. Beautiful the way I am.
No makeup. Makeup free portrait.
Hashtag no filters.
Okay, so they've painted this magical portrait of you, and first question, where have they put you up in Hogwarts?
Tough call. Part of me wants to say the hospital wing so I can badger people who are trying to recover. Part of me wants to say in a common room or in the library so I can make a ruckus. Can I have multiple frames? Because that would suit my purposes.
No. You can have two. Okay,
I can have
actually, no,
two?
you can have two.
Okay.
So, choose your positions wisely.
I would have one in the most popular frequented corridor. I don't know where that is, but that's where I put it. And I would put one in a common room, but I don't know which one. Definitely though, so I could badger people all the time.
You have to pick which common room.
No, I can't.
You have to.
I mean, who's the most taunt? Hufflepuffs will just cry. Slytherins will throw a blanket on you. Oh, everyone will throw a blanket on you except for Hufflepuff. Bam!
Hufflepuff will just be polite to you. I don't think they'll cry. They'll be very polite.
Great. That's what I need. No, it's not. Oh, the rumor requirement would be interesting. Oh no, but it changes. I can't pick. You go. You go.
No, you gotta pick, because I've got a follow up. I'll then go, and then I've got a follow up question.
Okay, so a really busy corridor, and then I can't go in the headmaster's office, can I? Because I'm not a headmaster.
No.
Probably Probably the library. Just harass people there.
You can't be noisy in the library. That'd
Oh,
move your
yes, I
portrait.
can. No, they won't.
That would totally move your portrait if you were shouting and being noisy.
I won't always shout and be noisy, and I'll blame it on groups of students.
Your plan's gonna fail.
My plans never fail.
Don't know what ward you live in. Anyways, okay, so for me, I would be placed. By the way, I am in my puffy shirt,
Mhm.
reclined on a lounge. I've
Mhm.
decided I'm living forever. I'll forget about the cardio.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
And I have multiple hats.
Yeah. Multiple a hat rack.
There's a hat rack, and I just pick whichever hat I want to wear. Anyways, so portrait number 1 will be in the entrance hall.
Mhm.
Portrait number 2 would be near the room of requirement. I want to know what everyone's getting up to,
They won't tell you.
but I'll figure it out after years of watching and
Ah.
listening and putting it together.
Dun, 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 dun.
Okay, so
Dun, dun, dun,
my
dun.
follow-up question is, your portrait is now in your chosen locations,
Mhm.
and you have all of eternity to be sitting around there. What are you going to get up to?
I am going to make everyone miserable
Why?
and be hilarious. I'm going to make
How?
jokes. I'm going to give people the wrong directions.
That is so mean.
Thank you. I'm
You're
going
meant to
to
help
make.
students. I think that's like part of the portrait contract is to
I'm
help
going to. I'm going to
students.
make my birds squawk at them. I'm going to eat the apple slowly, so that if they're hungry, they can't have an apple, but I can have an apple. Especially in the library, I'll chew on it really. Obviously, I like chomp, chomp, chomp. And I'm gonna be conflicting. I'm gonna encourage the students to fight in the corridors, and I'm gonna teach them inappropriate spells.
You are truly awful. You are the reason I won't send my Susie to Hogwarts.
Oh, rude. I would send anyone to Hogwarts if I was there. I'm hilarious. Guys, do you think I'd make a good portrait? Come on. I think so. Although, if I was going to have a portrait with you, it would be us sitting at a table, bored,
Lovely.
looking around, just playing. Or like sitting across from each other with like food and drinks constantly.
That's more realistic. We're never bored. We have food and drink.
We should have a GIF portrait. That would be, yeah, we'll do that next.
Yeah, we'll make a gift portrait of us just like sitting and eating forever.
I love it.
Okay, so I am in the entrance hall and near the room of requirement. In the entrance hall, I am lovely and kind and welcoming, and I help students. I will, go from portrait to portrait and lead them around and help them out.
Oh,
Yeah,
gross.
because I am a Gryffindor.
Literally the worst.
My portrait up near the room of requirements, however,
Da-da-da.
would be really, really friendly with the kids who go in and out of there. Not like questioning them, not at first. I'd build a rapport with these kids. Draco Malfoy, 6th year, he was telling me everything by the end.
Oh, wow. Just the way you said it doesn't make it sound healthy.
I've got eternity. What am I going to do with my time?
Hit on students, apparently.
Well, maybe I'll be painted young enough so it's not creepy. At this point, it's creepy, but they might paint a younger me
Okay, this is
in a
making me
puffy
sad
shirt.
now.
in my puffy shirt. And,
It's
I'd have long hair again.
Oh, lordy lord.
I'd have my long black flowing hair. Or maybe red. Maybe I'll go back to being a redhead. There's just too many decisions to make, Jess. These are the real questions of life.
Are they?
Yes. And if no one else can tell, I am frazzled.
She needs to go to sleep.
I'm actually lying on my lounge. I am lying down with my headset on.
You are tired. Alright, well, I'm just gonna say this right now. I think my portrait's gonna be amazing. and I stick by my wanting a Voldemort portrait. It would be cool. The Minerva McGonagall portrait would be the best, of course.
She like has a gorgeous, large, like wall-sized portrait somewhere after her death in Hogwarts.
Her death? No, that doesn't happen.
She doesn't die. She lives
No,
forever.
never. Hmm.
Then why does she need a portrait?
Dude, she can have a portrait. Let her have a portrait. Why don't you want to have a portrait? I want her to have a portrait. I love
But
McGonagall.
there's something about the portraits that like it only fits if they're dead.
Someone wants to reject McGonagall's extra present.
Never.
That's you. That's right.
Wall-sized portrait on the seventh floor.
Just everywhere.
Just forget all the other portraits. Take him down. McGonagall
Mm-hmm.
should be watching everything.
I love her.
Me too.
All right. I think we should let everybody go and consider what their portrait would do, or what their favourite portrait is, or whether
Comment.
they think that the Voldemort portrait would be spooky and awesome, or just spooky and awful.
Comment on our Facebook letting us know where you would have your portrait, what you'd want it doing, all those fun things we just talked about. We want to know. And yes, if you must, and suggest about whether a Voldemort portrait is a good idea.
It's a great idea.
I think it's awful. Okay, as per usual, if you want to find us on social media, we are on Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr as Witch Weekly Podcast. And we are on Twitter and Pinterest as Witch Weekly Cast. You can send us emails at witchweeklypodcast@gmail.com. And we look forward to hearing from you. We'll be back next week. Bye.
Bye, nerds.